Farmers across the United States are facing an unprecedented challenge. Imagine owning a machine that is essential for your livelihood, yet being locked out of it by the very company that sold it to you. That's the situation many farmers find themselves in today, as John Deere has imposed repair restrictions on its tractors and farming equipment. These restrictions prevent farmers from repairing their own machinery, forcing them to rely on authorized John Deere dealerships for any repairs, often at sky-high costs and lengthy delays. This is not just an inconvenience for farmers. It's a crisis that threatens their ability to run their operations smoothly. At the heart of this issue is the debate over the right to repair. Farmers, once able to fix their equipment with relative ease, are now being denied control over the very tools they depend on. As tensions rise, this issue has sparked a nationwide rebellion against John Deere, with farmers leading the charge in a fight for their rights and independence. In this video, we will dive deep into this growing battle, uncovering the frustrations of farmers, the corporate tactics behind John Deere's policies, and the consequences of a system that locks out the very people who made the company a household name. By the end, you'll understand how this fight could reshape the future of consumer rights and the way businesses operate. John Deere is a name synonymous with farming. For over 180 years, the company has been a trusted ally of farmers, providing them with machinery that helped them feed the world. From the iconic green tractors to the combine harvesters, John Deere has built a reputation for quality and reliability. For generations, farmers have relied on these machines to plow fields, harvest crops, and perform countless other essential tasks. The relationship between farmers and John Deere was once a partnership based on mutual respect and trust. Farmers were able to purchase these machines and maintain them as they saw fit, fixing them when necessary and ensuring that they lasted for many years. However, in recent years, this long-standing trust has been shattered. The problem began when John Deere started to introduce more advanced technology into their tractors and equipment, including complex software and digital locks. These innovations were meant to improve the efficiency and performance of the machinery, but they also created new problems. The software that powers John Deere's machines is now encrypted, and the company has put in place software locks that prevent farmers from accessing or modifying the code. Essentially, if a farmer's tractor breaks down, they can no longer simply fix it themselves. They have to take it to an authorized dealership. This means farmers must rely on John Deere or its partners for repairs, often facing long wait times and expensive service fees. The result? Farmers are being locked out of their own equipment, unable to make simple repairs without the intervention of the company, who has the sole access to the software needed to make repairs. For farmers, the impact of these repair restrictions is nothing short of devastating. When a piece of machinery breaks down during peak season, it can halt an entire operation, causing delays that can result in lost revenue. The inability to repair their own equipment means that farmers are at the mercy of John Deere and its dealerships. Even a small breakdown can result in costly downtime, and with the limited availability of service technicians, repairs often take days or even weeks. For small family-run farms, this downtime can be catastrophic. Additionally, the cost of repairs is often astronomical. Farmers who once fixed their own equipment with basic tools and knowledge now find themselves facing expensive bills for diagnostic tests, labor, and replacement parts. All because John Deere controls access to the machinery's software. Moreover, John Deere's justification for these restrictions is largely based on intellectual property concerns and safety issues. The company argues that the software locks protect their proprietary technology and ensure that only trained professionals can make repairs. While these reasons may seem valid on the surface, they fail to address the fundamental issue that farmers are no longer in control of the equipment they own. Instead of empowering farmers to maintain their machines, John Deere is taking away their autonomy, forcing them into a dependent relationship with the company. This is a significant departure from the past, when farmers were able to take charge of their own operations and repair their own equipment without the need for an authorized service center. As frustration mounts, farmers are beginning to fight back. The first signs of resistance emerged when a few farmers started to search for ways around the software restrictions. They turned to online forums, YouTube tutorials, and other resources to figure out how to bypass the digital locks on their tractors. Some were successful, while others faced legal and technical challenges. But these early efforts were just the beginning. As more farmers realized they were not alone in their struggles, a grassroots movement began to take shape. Farmers started to share repair hacks and tips, and soon, the conversation grew beyond isolated efforts to a full-blown rebellion. These farmers were no longer willing to accept the status quo. They were demanding their right to repair the equipment they had paid for and owned. The movement quickly gained momentum, with farmers organizing protests, rallies, and petitions to demand the right to repair their own tractors. The issue also began to gain traction in the media, as stories of farmers being locked out of their own machines spread across news outlets. The growing awareness of the issue led to a wave of support from other consumers who were similarly frustrated with the lack of control over their own products. What started as a fight over farm equipment soon became part of a larger national conversation about consumer rights and the corporate control of products. Politicians took notice, and soon lawmakers in several states began to introduce right-to-repair legislation, which would force companies like John Deere to ease their restrictions and allow consumers to fix their own equipment. As the issue gained national attention, it sparked a wider debate about corporate monopolies and the right of consumers to repair the products they own. The growing backlash against John Deere was not just a farmer issue. It became a broader consumer rights issue that resonated with people from all walks of life. The right-to-repair movement began to gain steam, with other industries, such as electronics, automotive, and medical devices, facing similar challenges. Companies across the board were increasingly locking consumers out of their own products, and farmers were leading the charge in demanding change. Despite the mounting pressure, John Deere's response has been tepid at best. The company has introduced a limited policy that allows third-party repairs, but this has done little to quell the growing discontent. Farmers argue that the changes are insufficient and fail to address the root of the problem. The company's refusal to fully embrace the right to repair continues to alienate its once loyal customer base. For many farmers, the changes feel more like a token gesture rather than a genuine attempt to resolve the issue. The anger is palpable, and farmers are not backing down. They continue to push for greater autonomy, knowing that the fight for their rights is about more than just tractors. It's about regaining control over their lives and their livelihoods. As the tension grows, competitors are starting to capitalize on John Deere's decline in popularity. Companies like Kubota, KIH, and New Holland have begun offering tractors and farming equipment that are easier to repair and maintain. These companies understand that farmers are looking for alternatives, and they're positioning themselves as the solution. Additionally, many farmers have started turning to vintage tractors, particularly older John Deere models that don't have the digital locks and software restrictions of newer machines. This trend reflects a growing dissatisfaction with modern equipment and a desire to return to simpler, more repairable machines. The shift toward vintage tractors also highlights the broader trend of farmers reclaiming their independence from corporate control. John Deere, facing mounting pressure from farmers and the media, has been forced to respond to the growing backlash. However, their efforts have been far from sufficient. The company's response to the right-to-repair movement has been hesitant and reluctant, marked by a series of small, incremental changes that have done little to address the core issues at hand. In a limited attempt to placate its critics, John Deere announced a third-party repair policy that would supposedly allow independent repair shops to fix John Deere equipment. However, this policy has been met with skepticism by farmers, who see it as an inadequate solution. The new policy still requires that the third-party shops receive authorization from John Deere, meaning the company still controls the repair process to some extent. Additionally, many farmers worry that the limited scope of the policy will not cover all repairs, particularly the more complicated ones that involve software modifications. Even with these minor adjustments, the frustration among farmers continues to grow. For many, John Deere's response is seen as a token gesture, a move designed to quell public outrage without actually addressing the underlying issue of corporate control over their equipment. Farmers feel that their ability to repair their own machinery, which they've owned and operated for years, has been stripped away, And John Deere's reluctance to fully embrace the right to repair movement only serves to deepen their distrust of the company. The lack of real change has left many farmers feeling abandoned by a company they once considered a trusted partner. As a result, the tension between John Deere and its customer base continues to simmer, with no clear resolution in sight. In the midst of this discontent, competitors have begun to take advantage of John Deere's growing unpopularity. Companies like Kubota, KIH, and New Holland have seized the opportunity to market themselves as more repair-friendly alternatives. These companies recognize that farmers are fed up with the restrictive policies of John Deere and are looking for equipment that offers more freedom and flexibility. Kubota, for example, has positioned itself as a company that values the autonomy of its customers, offering machines that are easier to repair and maintain. Unlike John Deere, Kubota does not lock its machines with restrictive software or enforce strict dealership-only repair policies. This has made Kubota a favorite among farmers who are seeking more control over their equipment. Moreover, some farmers are taking matters into their own hands by turning to older, vintage models of John Deere equipment. These tractors, which predate the advent of digital software and encryption, do not have the software locks that modern machines have, allowing farmers to repair and maintain them independently. As a result, there has been a resurgence in the popularity of vintage tractors, particularly among farmers who feel that modern equipment has become too complicated and restrictive. This trend highlights the growing dissatisfaction with the direction John Deere has taken and the increasing desire for equipment that allows farmers to maintain control over their operations. While these vintage machines may not have all the bells and whistles of newer models, they offer a level of simplicity and reliability that modern tractors no longer provide. The shift towards older machines also reflects a broader desire among farmers to return to a time when they had more independence and less reliance on corporate-controlled systems. The implications of the right to repair movement extend far beyond the farming industry. While the battle between John Deere and its customers is at the forefront of this issue, it is part of a much larger trend that spans across multiple industries. Companies in various sectors, from electronics to automotive, are increasingly locking down their products with digital locks and proprietary software, preventing consumers from making their own repairs or modifications. This corporate control over repair access has sparked a global conversation about consumer rights and the need for greater transparency and accountability from corporations. The right to repair movement is gaining momentum outside of the farming community, as consumers in other industries begin to realize the dangers of being locked out of their own products. In the tech industry, for example, consumers have long been frustrated by the inability to repair their own smartphones and laptops. Apple, one of the largest companies in the world, has been criticized for its repair policies, which restrict consumers from accessing parts and software needed to fix their devices. Similar issues have arisen in the automotive industry, where car manufacturers are increasingly using encrypted software to control access to diagnostic tools and repairs. In the medical device industry, the issue of repair restrictions is particularly concerning, as patients who rely on life-saving equipment are often unable to make repairs when their devices malfunction. These industries, like the farming community, are facing growing calls for more transparency and consumer control over the products they purchase. The right to repair movement has become a rallying cry for consumers everywhere who are fed up with being treated like passive recipients of corporate products, rather than active participants in the life cycle of their purchases. Farmers have played a crucial role in this movement, serving as leaders in the fight for consumer rights and independence. Their resourcefulness, self-reliance, and determination to protect their livelihoods have made them the driving force behind the right to repair movement. The way farmers have fought for their right to repair their own equipment is a testament to their resilience and willingness to challenge powerful corporations that have long held a monopoly over the tools they rely on. Farmers understand that the fight for the right to repair is not just about tractors. It's about reclaiming control over their work, their businesses, and their lives. The farmers leading the charge in this movement are setting an example for other industries and consumers. They are showing the world that it is possible to stand up to powerful corporations and demand the right to repair, innovate, and modify the products they own. The success of the right to repair movement in the farming industry could have far-reaching implications, influencing how businesses in other sectors approach consumer rights and corporate control. As more consumers join the fight for their right to repair, there is hope that this movement could lead to significant changes in the way companies operate, with businesses being forced to offer greater transparency and flexibility in their repair policies. This could mark the beginning of a new era in which consumers have more power and control over the products they purchase, and corporations are held accountable for the impact their policies have on the people who rely on their products. As the right to repair movement gains momentum, new alternatives are beginning to emerge in the farming industry. One of the most exciting developments is the rise of open-source farming equipment. Open-source solutions allow farmers to access the blueprints, software, and parts needed to build and repair their own machinery, without being dependent on corporations like John Deere. This collaborative approach to farming equipment has the potential to revolutionize the industry, as farmers and engineers work together to create more sustainable, customizable, and repairable machines. Open-source farming equipment empowers farmers to take control of their operations, reducing their reliance on corporate-controlled systems and enabling them to create machines that are tailored to their specific needs. In addition to open-source solutions, cooperatives and independent manufacturers are emerging as viable alternatives to the corporate-controlled systems that have dominated the farming industry for decades. These cooperatives and independent producers are looking for ways to create equipment that is both affordable and repairable, without the restrictions imposed by companies like John Deere. By working together, these small-scale manufacturers and farmers are creating a new, more resilient farming ecosystem that prioritizes independence, sustainability, and collaboration. This shift toward cooperative and independent production is a direct response to the corporate monopolies that have long held sway over the farming industry, and it represents a powerful challenge to the status quo. As these new alternatives gain traction, farmers are finding that they have more options than ever before. The rise of open-source farming equipment and the growth of cooperatives offer a glimpse into a future where farmers are no longer at the mercy of powerful corporations like John Deere. Instead, they have the tools and resources they need to take control of their own operations and shape the future of their industry. This new era of farming, built on collaboration, innovation, and independence, has the potential to transform the way we think about agriculture and the role of corporations in shaping the tools that farmers use. The impact of the right to repair movement and the growing rebellion against John Deere's restrictive policies has the potential to reshape the future of corporate-consumer relationships. If the movement succeeds, it could force companies to rethink how they treat their customers and what rights consumers have when it comes to repairing and modifying the products they own. For John Deere, the pressure is mounting. If they fail to meet the demands of farmers and consumers, they risk losing their once loyal customer base and alienating an entire generation of farmers who are increasingly looking for alternatives. The future of John Deere and other companies that control access to repairs may very well depend on how they respond to the growing demand for transparency, fairness, and consumer rights. One thing is certain: the fight for the right to repair is far from over, and it will continue to reshape industries for years to come.